just been impressed with him the past couple of weeks?
Yeah, he's done really well. You know, he deserves his spot back in the side. He's our reserve grade, our Canterbury Cup's undefeated, and he's been a big part of that. So I'm really happy for him. He deserves his spot to come back in, and what better way than against Penrith.
To change your halves pairing so quickly early in the season, did you just feel that it wasn't going to work, or you weren't willing to sort of wait?
Yeah, look, there's a few reasons behind it, you know, and Avo and Wake, you've both spent some time there. There's some things that we think that Kyle can bring to this game in particular. And as I said, he's been knocking on the door for a month now, and it was always the plan. We had a plan in and around it, and, you know, he's done really well. So the boys are happy for him, and looking forward to watching him play.
The criticism that's being levelled at you in terms of the game that you're bringing him back in, has that been unfair? Like, no coach really sets a player up to fail, do they?
No, well, I think, we want to win, and we'll pick the best team that we think can win that game. So, as was the case from round 1 to 4, and will be the case for the rest of the year. So, but as I said, I think you'd like the focus to be on how well Kyle's played, and that he deserves his spot. You know, I'm sure he wants to play NRL, and he gets a chance this week.
How would you describe some of the commentary around Kyle's selection?
Yeah, disappointing, I think. You know, we would like to be looking at the other side of it, celebrating, you know, how hard Kyle's worked to get back in the team, and I know he has worked hard. And I know that the last 12 months have been difficult for him, but he's put himself in a position where he's played well in Canterbury Cup. We've rewarded a few guys back there who've played really well, and they get their chance, and that's how it should be.
Trent, can you clear up a few things? How much time has Kyle spent with the first grade side, training with the first grade side?
Yeah, so we've got a top 30 and 4 dev players, and they all train together every day, so a lot.
Has he done a lot of reps with Matt Burton, I guess is probably the question? Yeah,
so, well, Avarillo and Wakeham have been the halves in Kyle's position for the last month, so obviously they're going to be doing a lot of the ball work in there. But our top 30 train together every day, have done since November, since whenever we come back. So, yeah, there's no issue there.
Gus just spoke yesterday about the fact that it was decisions the back end of last year to keep Kyle away and actually keep him out of the spotlight to develop his game. Can you just talk us through that decision?
Yeah, and definitely it was, and they're discussions that we did have with Kyle, and, you know, other people close to Kyle in about how we wanted him to develop, and we thought that he needed time to work on a few things in his game, and to his credit he's done it, and that's where the focus should be, not on the rest of the innuendo, but he's earned his spot. Where that gets misconstrued through all this other stuff, I don't know, but I've got a team to look after, and I just want to coach him and win this week, and that's my focus. That's all it'll be. I'll be glad when this press conference is done and we can get on with it.
You said the focus should be on what he's done, so what did you want from him in reserve grade to earn his spot back? What have you liked about him in the past month?
Exactly what he's done. He's controlled our reserve grade team really well, you know, and he's played on the ball at halfback, and Tangles has done a good job with him in reserve grade. We're 4 from 4 in Canterbury Cup, and it's, you know, pretty hard to ignore that sort of form. He's scored a lot of points, he's kicking well, and his attitude's been really good. So would have been, it was coming. You know, he was always knocking on the door, and as I said, we had a plan what to do with Kyle, and it's worked, and he finds himself back in first grade, where he wants to be, where every player in our squad wants to be.
Has Kyle taken the commentary around his selection this week? Has he been influenced by it at all?
Yeah, no, you'd like to think not. It's obviously pressure that he doesn't need in what should be a week of where he should be really proud of himself, you know, and he is, and we are, because he deserves it.
Trent, you sat down with him and said, mate, you're going to get an extended run of game series, not going to be just 1 or 2 weeks, we'll give you 4, 6, 8 weeks, whatever it takes to sort of feel your way back in the NRL level?
No, look, we don't have to have those conversations. You know, he's a grown man, you know, and all our players want to be in first grade, and we all need to perform, we all need to play well. You need stability in your halves, obviously, and we would have loved to have had that. But, you know, again, we've got to pick teams that we think can win on the weekend and give us our best chance of winning. And we think this week, and whether it's a month, 2 months, 10 years. Hopefully it's 10 years, mate. You know, but the onus is on our players too, not just Kyle, all of our players. You have to perform well, but it's not all about Kyle this week for us. There's a lot of things in our game that we can improve, which will help him. He just needs to play his role, and that's what he's been doing in reserve grade, and he's done it very well.
Trent, you've been bemused by the fact we just spent 5 minutes on this. It's been headlines all week, right? Like,
Yeah.
are you a bit surprised by the reaction to Kyle being picked?
Very surprised.
You mentioned that you think Kyle can add something that potentially Wakeham and Amarillo can for this particular game.
Yep.
Maybe is it worth expanding on what that is? Like, what aspect of his game do you think
Yep.
lines up well against Penrith?
Probably the direction, mate. I think our attack inside 20's been a little bit ordinary, I thought. You know, particularly against Melbourne, we had opportunities there when we needed to come away with some points. You know, Melbourne are a difficult team to score against, but there was opportunities there, and I just think that's a strong part of Kyle's game. You know, the other two add something different. Sorry, mate, and they are completely different, the three of them. You know, as I said, that some of the things that Kyle's been doing in the twos are things that we've wanted him to work on. He's done really well, so they're the things that we look at, and when we pick teams, we don't just pull the names out of a hat. There is a fair bit that goes into it, because remind you all that I want to win too, and that's what's so comical about it, I suppose.
You spent a large chunk of your playing career under the spotlight, right? Like under the scrutiny and in headlines and stuff with on-field stuff.
Yeah.
What do you learn out of that to pass on to Kyle? Like the stuff you've been in his shoes, I guess, in terms of the scrutiny. Yeah,
look, it's part of the deal. In our position for all our first graders, there's pressure there. I think a lot of it is it's worse now probably than when I played, given the social media and the number of media outlets and the 24/7 football shows that need content each night for people to watch them. So I get that, but I've got a team to worry about, and that's my main focus. I'm not worried about all the other stuff. I don't worry about it. I just want to watch them play well on the weekend.
Do you have 16 other players playing this weekend?
There is.
Just looking
There's
at
a whole club that's playing this weekend.
Just looking at the Panthers, I know you haven't been there for a little while now, but there's still things that help you coach against them, or are they a different side completely to when you were there?
They're probably a better side. You know, I think they've developed over the last 3 years into what they are. They're the premiers for a reason. Particularly good defensively, and they're hard to break down. They've got a lot of good players there who we know well, but that doesn't make it gives us a bit of an insight into them, I suppose. But I think everyone's known pretty well what they're doing over the last 3 years, but different thing to stop it. They've got some really good players. Even the young kids that they brought into the team are doing really well. Tago's a good little player. Young May's a good player. So they just keep coming. But more worried about us, or not worried, but focused on what we can do. We started the game well against Melbourne last week, but a lot of tries against the runner play, but needed to come up with points early, and that's a focus for us this week.
There was a bit of back and forth between the two clubs last year over Matt Burton. I think Ivan said after one of the games, Canterbury might actually thank us by the end of the year, after the development they put into him. How's he heading into?
Yeah, he's good. He's excited. You know, he's got a lot of friends out there, and, as does Nato. So Tavita's been out there as well. So there is a fair bit of crossover between the two clubs, but the players are excited. We're playing them at a good stadium, and hopefully we can get a crowd there.
Last two questions.
Trent, Gus was very forthright coming out yesterday saying, don't blame Trent, don't blame the club, this is my call when Kyle comes back. Do you feel like he's trying to take a lot of pressure off, you know, the team, yourself, in some respects?
Yeah, I think so. You know, and Gus is the GM here, and we discuss a lot of things. So, you know, I would have, you know, it was good of him to come out and say what he said. You know, and we do work closely together, and you know, it's good to have him here.
When he came out and said it was his decision at the time, did you agree, or were you tempted to bring Kyle back in a bit earlier?
Look, we had a plan from the get-go, so we stuck to it, and I think it's worked. You know, when I think Kyle's performances in Canterbury Cup have helped him relax a little bit, and he's playing well. So they're the only factors that really came into it. When we thought he was ready, we were both of the opinion that it was time to bring him back in, and he's worked really hard. So it'd be good to see him play.